about what we're doing in terms of looking at medical prices and the prices you're paying and how you can use strategies to try to lower the amount of costs that you are facing, especially in bills, surprise bills that you don't expect. Many of you probably know already that we've been doing this series all week long. We call it Medical Price Roulette. And the reason we call it roulette is because guess what? You spin the wheel, you throw in the little, what do they call that anyway? The ball. And it lands on a number and you don't know what number you're going to get. Well, guess what? All of us have had those medical bills where we get a bill in the mail and we say, oh, look, suddenly I owe $2,000 and I don't know why I owe $2,000, or even if I know why, I didn't expect to get $2,000. I expected $200, and now the budget doesn't afford for $2,000. And what am I supposed to do? If you have kids, you have a family, you have other commitments. How do you handle all this? So we've been telling you stories of people who've had issues. A couple of questions that we've had. I want to talk about some questions we've had coming in. We've had lots of emails. And by the way, I just want to plug the web link where you can share the prices that you paid with us. Please do this. We have now probably upwards of 450 shares. That's people who have come and filled out the form and told us, this is what I paid. And we want you to do that. And the place to do that is cbsnews.com/healthcosts. cbsnews.com/healthcosts. We'll put it up in the Facebook comments. Brandon's going to do that for us. Brandon's behind the camera.
I'm doing it right now.
Hey, Brandon. Hi, Brandon. And when you go to that, you're going to click through. Basically, you're going to put in cbsnews.com/healthcosts. You're going to see a button sort of thing that says share and search prices. You click on that. It'll take you to kind of an intermediate disclaimer page. Just click again. We know how those internet things are. And then you'll land on the ClearHealthCosts/CBS page where we're collecting your prices that you paid. One of the reasons we're doing that is Jeanne and her team have surveyed cash prices for procedures in 2 markets, Dallas and San Francisco. But we want to know, hey, you live somewhere else. What are you paying for those? What kind of insurance copays did you face? What did you have to pay out of pocket? What are these medical procedures actually costing you? So please share that with us. Leave us your email and phone number if you would, or one or the other. Just your email is fine. If you can, if you're comfortable with that, so that maybe we can reach out to you. Maybe you have a story you want to talk to us about for a future CBS News, CBS This Morning investigative story. Please do it. We would love to hear from you. You can also email us. I'll also say this, at healthcosts@cbsnews.com. Now, Jeannie's been ever so patiently waiting here while I talk. So, Jeannie, just tell me a little bit about the feedback that you've been seeing from people, and what are some of the stories that you've heard from people that have impacted you the most? I mean, I know I've read a lot of them. You have too. What are you reacting to?
Oh my goodness. People are out there suffering from this. We hear stories about people who are paying thousands and thousands of dollars. One woman said that the debt that she incurred caused her to, when her son went into the military, Army intelligence interviewed her about whether this debt could present a threat of bribery.
So his debt was so high, in other words, this kid in the military, that they wanted to know if he could be bribed somehow because he was facing such a heavy debt load. He might be vulnerable.
Right.
Which is
Crazy.
kind of horrible. I mean, really, this is medical debt. I mean, since when are people supposed to be hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical debt to the point where some people have to file bankruptcy? We know that's happening. We know that some people out there have had to file bankruptcy because they couldn't handle these crushing medical bills.
We hear a lot from people who can afford the diagnosis but not the cure. So you know what's wrong with you. You can't afford to pay for the medication. You can't afford to pay for the procedures. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah. So we are hearing so much feedback from people. It's more feedback on this than probably any other story I've done in years, because let's face it, we all get these bills. I do too. Jeannie did too. In fact, I know Jeannie, you don't know this about her, probably you don't know, but she used to be a New York Times journalist she worked at the New York Times for 25 years, and then she decided, hey, I'm going to start a company to try to answer the questions about what anything costs in healthcare. Like, what does anything cost? Nobody knows. There's no transparency, really, and nobody knows what the prices are on anything. And I know this, for you, started with a personal experience, didn't it? Like, with something about like the bills that you got in your family.
So members of my family had 3 bits of minor surgery, about a half hour each, 14 months apart. Nothing serious. So we got 3 sets of bills. The anesthesia alone for the first surgery was $2,000. The second, $2,000. The third one, $6,000.
Right. So okay. So like that's crazy. How does that happen?
Crazy.
$2,000, $6,000.
Right. So I'm a journalist. I did some research. I kind of dug around on the internets and found out that for the expensive one, we were being charged $1,419 for a generic anti-nausea medication that I could buy online for $2.49.
I feel like those are the examples that really, really make people just mad, because $2.49 versus $1,000 sum just doesn't make sense, does it? Doesn't seem to pass the smell test. Like somebody's making money. Somebody made that $1,000. We just don't know who.
Right.
Right?
Right.
The hospital or
Right.
the,
And the more I started to talk about this, the more I realized that other people had similar stories. And while there is some stigma or taboo associated with talking about medical treatment and money, like not everybody wants to talk about those things.
it feels kind of icky, or they just don't feel like they're not used to it.
But I bet everybody out there listening has a story.
Yeah.
The more I started to talk to people, the more I realized that it was a universal problem.
And we are hearing that too. The universality of this problem is huge. One of the things I want to mention is, this morning we featured on CBS This Morning, we ran a segment where we talked to a woman who, she let us sit with her as she tried to shop for a pair of cardiac tests that she needed. A few years ago, she had these two tests, and she wound up paying $4,000 out of pocket cash after insurance. She had insurance, but it wound up being $4,000 out of her pocket afterwards. So she needs the test again, according to her doctor. But this time she's like, I'm shopping around this time. So she's like, we said, can we come listen and watch as you try to shop around? And she said, sure. So we went to her house and we showed This Morning. And, it seems really difficult and frustrating. She calls the doctor. They don't know the price, which is common. Doctors oftentimes don't know what it's going to cost you because you have insurance, or you don't, or you're paying cash, or you're not, or you're in a financial assistance program, so you pay almost nothing, whatever it is. So then they said, well, call the lab and ask them. So then the lab was like, no, call the financial counselor. And then the financial counselor, she leaves a voicemail, and then you know how that is. Maybe they get back to you, So I feel like some people think, well, gosh, like, can I even do it? Can I even shop around? Mm-hmm. So what do you tell people when they are trying to shop around for prices? How can you do that without spending hours and hours and hours and being completely frustrated at the end?
Right. So we have a little handbook about that will be going up on the site, I hope, today. But basically what we tell people is find out the CPT code, the exact name, and the procedure code. There should be a procedure code attached to it. Then call the hospital, clinic, lab, doctor, whatever, and say, I want to know what this will cost me on my insurance for this 72148 MRI of the lower back. You can ask that over and over and over again. You can also say, what would the cash price be for that? And we suggest that people try to get that in writing if they can. If you can't get it in writing, you can also ask for somebody's name, phone number, take notes.
Take notes. Take advice from two reporters. Take notes so that later when you say, no, so-and-so quoted me this price, when they say, well, who did you talk to? You'll know who you talked to. And you can say, I talked to them on September 29th at 10:30 in the morning, and her name was Jeanne.
Right.
Whatever.
And we also suggest that you call several places. And if people keep saying no, just keep calling until you find somebody who will tell you. Because it's really important that we make this normal behavior. Like, everybody should be able to know in advance.
And the question is sort of, will that generate pressure? If people in the medical community were to become accustomed to patients asking them for the prices on things, which for the longest time has not been the case, right?
But it's changed.
We're not habituated to asking prices, but that's becoming more of a thing.
Right.
If that becomes more the norm, does that then create pressure within the system as a whole for everyone to become more price conscious and ask, okay, why are we charging $15,000 for an MRI when somebody else charges $500?
Right.
Why is that?
Well, one of the reasons is that if you're having a $15,000 MRI, chances are it's in a hospital. Pretty much every procedure that you have in a hospital is more expensive than it would be outside of the hospital.
And we saw that when you and your people surveyed for us the two markets, Dallas and San Francisco. If you go again to cbsnews.com/healthcosts, click through the disclaimer page, click on the share and search prices on the button, click through that disclaimer page, and then go to the site. You'll see on the right-hand side it says You can search prices for our 2 sample markets. Just go in there, put in, for example, mammogram.
72148 MRI of the lower back.
Yeah, 72148, or just put in MRI lower back, and it'll bring up a drop-down menu that you can pick something from, and click that. Pick your zip code if you're in the San Francisco Bay Area. I know you people will do this for sure. They're very data intensive out there, and just just check out the prices, because when you start scrolling down, it'll give you a list of prices that the surveyors found. And then on the left-hand side, please go in and share your prices with us. Again, cbsnews.com/healthcosts. And a reminder that you can also email us. The email is healthcosts@cbsnews.com. And please feel free to email your questions, or tweet to us, hit us up on Facebook, etc. And participate, because we're kind of crowdsourcing to let other people know around the country, sort of educate all of us as to what you're paying if you live in a different part of the country. We want to hear from you no matter where you live, because the insurance prices that you pay are not public. They're not public, as we mentioned in our segment this morning on CBS This Morning. These negotiations go on between insurance companies and hospitals and providers. And guess what? The only way you find out about those prices typically is to be a patient with that insurance going to that doctor. So we want to know from you, hey, what did you wind up paying? What are the weird stories you have that maybe we should look into?
What we think of our database is something like a mashup of Kayak and the Waze traffic app. So we're using reported data and crowdsourced data to shed light on the mysteries of healthcare costs.
Yeah, and it's not an all-for-one solution, guys. I mean, obviously, you're not going to fix the healthcare system with a few price lists, but it's in the interest of, hey, we want to find out what's going on, bring transparency to the market, and learn more about how it operates. And we're gonna do that with your help, because you guys have more power than all of us put together.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see you soon on
right,
CBSN with an
all
update
right.
on something special. So.
Yep. Updates coming.
All right. Good tease. Thank you.
Thank you.